The stars above Vesta Prime shimmered coldly, indifferent to the chaos unfolding below. The Crothall Dominion, masters of subjugation and scorched earth conquest, were consolidating another victory in their endless campaign through the Outer Rim. On the ash-stained parade grounds of Outpost Shakarn, the tall figure of General Jaktor loomed before an assembled legion. His crimson armor caught the pale starlight, and the twin axes across his back shimmered with ceremonial gore. Behind him, massive banners depicting conquered worlds waved lazily in the artificial wind. Cameras hovered silently in the air, streaming the event in real time across occupied systems. Jaktor raised a clawed hand, talons clicking, and silence fell like a blade. The feed crackled in dozens of languages as his voice thundered across the galaxy. Humans, he growled, once whispered of their so-called warriors, champions, of endurance, precision, and courage. They told stories of ghost snipers who turned battles with a single shot. But where are they now? He turned slowly, letting his gaze sweep the assembled ranks. Hiding, fleeing. We crushed them on Mars. We cracked Luna like an egg. Their fleet scattered like vermin from fire. He sneered. Their heroes are cowards, their myths, dust and shadows. Applause roared from the crowd, a deep guttural sound of armored fists striking armored chests. The feed cut to footage from Luna, the final hours of the human outpost. Choking smoke, bodies dragged from bunkers. A human prisoner, hooded and bleeding, forced to kneel before a Crothall executioner. The blade fell. Another sniper dead. Earth, Jaktor said with theatrical disdain, tells stories. The Dominion writes history. Elsewhere in the HFY system, the feed replayed across occupied channels. Alien children laughed at the ghost tales of Terran snipers. Crothall soldiers mocked intercepted human transmissions, replacing sniper kill lists with cartoon parodies. One widely shared broadcast showed a Crothall officer wearing a fake human ghillie suit, stumbling around in a snowy forest, before being pounced by a giant boot labeled Dominion Justice. It was crude. It was effective. The myth was dying. Yet, on the surface of Vesta Prime, not all was laughter. Perched on a plateau above the outpost, new anti-sniper towers hummed quietly. Fitted with thermal sensors, acoustic triangulators, and electromagnetic filters, the Dominion's engineers boasted they could detect any Terran sniper within 10 clicks. No human, they claimed, could breach that web. Inside the command dome, Jaktor examined the latest reports while sipping a thick black nutrient broth. Officers lounged without helmets. Some gambled with ration packs. One of them snorted as a drone feed replayed a cartoon parody of the infamous human operator. Known only as Ghost Vulture, they actually think one man could do all that? The officer scoffed. Jaktor chuckled low and dry. Let them believe. Fear is a broken blade. It cuts only the one who holds it. He leaned forward. We've shown them what happens. To myths when they meet Crothall steel. Let them whisper about ghosts. When the last human breathes his last word, the silence will be ours. But elsewhere, far from the boastful bluster of Vesta Prime, silence already reigned. Beneath the frozen crust of Talos VII, a human listening post hummed in total darkness. The cavern walls were etched with frost. Condensation curled from every breath. In a dimly lit control room, 3 figures huddled around a console. Data scrolled across the screen. Orbital recon, intercepted signals, biometric triangulations. The oldest among them, a gray-bearded man in battered Arctic gear, nodded slowly. We have him. He tapped a display. It zoomed in on the coordinates. Vesta Prime, Sector 12K, Outpost Shakarn. Jaktor? Confirmed. He's garrisoned there for 2 cycles. The room fell still. A younger officer spoke, hesitant. We can't get a unit that deep. They've got a thermal net, pulse, radar, and a full sky grid. The old man didn't respond. Instead, he turned to a sealed folder resting beside a metal case. The folder's label was plain. Operator, Ghost Vulture. He slid it across the table. No unit, he said quietly. No air support. No. Back, just him. The younger officer blinked. Sir, we haven't used him in over a year. I know. There's a reason. I know. He exhaled like someone signing a death warrant. But we need a message. Not for them, for us. We need them to remember. He pressed a red key. Somewhere deeper in the base, a dormant locker. Hissed open. Far away, under dim red lighting, a tall figure stepped out of a sealed chamber. He moved slowly, like a machine waking from sleep. No one saluted him. No one greeted him. No one dared. The figure reached down, lifted a long, weathered case, and opened it. Inside, a sniper rifle of ancient Earth design, custom-forged rails, a barrel etched with uncounted kills. Its surface bore frostbite scars and deep, permanent grime. He ran a gloved hand across it like a priest touching sacred scripture. His name was long forgotten. His call sign wasn't. He checked the scope, then looked up at the frozen stars. No words, no promises, just the target, and the silence between the breath and the shot. The descent was silent, no afterburners, no warning. Just a silver blur streaking through the night above Vesta Prime, sheathed in the burning friction of re-entry. A sleek black pod, no larger than a coffin, punched through the upper atmosphere, like a falling blade. Its onboard AI flared, a brief signal burst toward deep space, coded confirmation of delivery, and then went dark forever. It slammed into the ice canyons without a sound the Crothall sensors could register, embedding itself into a glacier with surgical precision. Steam hissed up into the moonlit dark. The pod opened on the side, facing away from the Crothall outpost, spilling cold mist and silence into the canyon. He stepped out. No unit insignia, no rank, no name. Only the call sign etched on the rifle case strapped to his back. Ghost Vulture. He moved like an old predator, body low to the ground. Every motion practiced and slow. His face, partially hidden beneath frost-rimmed tactical wrap, was marked by old scars, deep serrated ones along his jaw, lighter ones like burns across his temple. His eyes were the color of frozen steel, neither blue nor gray, but something colder. They didn't dart or blink much. They studied, calculated, waited. He said nothing. He never did. In the corridors of Earth's last surviving military councils, his name wasn't spoken. Only stories. 100 kills in 22 days on Titan's dark side. A fleet commander assassinated from 5 kilometers through methane fog. One shot, one ship, one war stopped before it began. Some swore he could read the wind on a dead planet. Others claimed he hadn't spoken a word in 10 years. A few even said he was dead, and what remained was something the battlefield had shaped and hardened until it could no longer be unmade. The ice cracked beneath his knees as he began the crawl. 4 miles across frozen canyon lands to reach visual range. No footprints, no upright posture, just the steady shuffle of belly and elbows, inching forward through snowdrifts and razor spires of wind-blasted ice. His body heat bled away quickly, replaced by the sterile chill of focus. Every few minutes he stopped, not to rest but to listen. The sound of wind, the vibrations of distant engines, the chirp of alien sensor drones overhead. He never looked up. He'd mapped their orbits from inside the drop pod, memorized every sweep cycle. Timing mattered. Not just the shot, but everything leading to it. He paused at a jagged outcropping of black stone and lifted the lens cap off his rifle scope. The glass inside was earth-forged, pre-Exodus, hand-ground in the Sierra workshops long before orbital bombardments had turned the region to glass. He adjusted it with a gloved thumb and scanned the ridgeline. Nothing yet. His breath was barely visible. Slow and disciplined. Inside his helmet, his HUD pinged soft data updates, geothermal readings, radiation levels, residual energy from the Crothall base's shield net. He resumed crawling. As the second hour passed, he felt it again. Memories pressing into the silence, like ghosts under ice. The smell of burning concrete, a little girl's laugh. Her drawing on the wall of his old apartment, Daddy with a long rifle watching the stars. He blinked. Once. She'd been on Earth when they came. He hadn't made it back. The Crothall had vaporized most of the Western Hemisphere before ground forces even touched down. The diplomats tried to broker peace. They came with white flags. The Crothall beheaded the diplomats and used the white flags to wrap the heads. He didn't believe in speeches anymore. One bullet, placed correctly, said more than 1,000 politicians ever could. By the third hour, the base came into sight. Outpost Shakarn looked less like a fortress and more like a scar. Jagged towers of obsidian alloy stabbed up from the glacier floor, surrounded by sensor dishes and heat shielding. Automated spotlights swept the snow. Anti-sniper towers pulsed with red light, scanning in perfect intervals. He watched from beneath a snowbank, barely raising the scope above the crust. He recorded everything: patrol times, turret blind spots, wind flow between towers, which guards lingered near warm vents, which drones drifted off pattern. He marked them all. At 1.4 kilometers, just shy of the shield's perimeter, a Crothall scout paused near the ridge. It was looking in the wrong direction, scanning a gap in the cliffs known for seismic instability. The scout adjusted its visual array, the rifle purred, a silent flash, a half-second of kinetic death. The slug struck cleanly through the scout's ocular lens and exited with enough force to vaporize the back of its head. The body folded forward. In a practiced blur, Ghost Vulture moved. 10 minutes later, where the scout had fallen, only a frozen spire remained. Reformed ice packed tightly over the corpse, shaped to resemble natural growth. The outpost noticed nothing. Hours passed, then a day, then another. He didn't sleep, not in the traditional sense. His body entered short, trained cycles of rest while his mind remained half alert, scanning the feed from his scope even when his eyes closed. Snow drifted across his rifle like a slow veil. The camouflage pattern on his armor adjusted shade by shade, syncing with the environment every few minutes. His heartbeat slowed to match the pace of the wind. He tracked every Crothall officer by face, measured distances, calculated shots he could take and chose not to. Discipline wasn't just in the trigger pull, it was in not pulling, not yet. At 72 hours he rechecked everything: shield harmonics, wind trajectory, ambient temperature drop, 3.1 degrees since initial insertion, enough to shift bullet drag over long range. Adjustments made. He never touched a radio, not once. No signal left his rifle, no transmission pinged. Home. The only evidence he existed was in the patterns of watching, waiting, choosing. Every so often his finger brushed the trigger, not to shoot, just to remind himself it was still there. That all of this, the crawl, the silence, the waiting, had a purpose. And when the shot came, it would mean something. Not because of who it killed, but because of what it reminded the galaxy. That humans didn't disappear into legend. They became it. The first shot came at dawn. Not the kind of dawn the Crothall knew. Vesta Prime had no sunrises in the traditional sense, only slow rotations of orbital glare. But it was the moment their base began a routine shift change. The supply platform, hissed open as a new crew rolled out crates of rations and oxygen tanks, escorted by 2 junior officers and a Crothall captain clad in crimson trim. The shot passed silently through the haze. One moment, the captain was scanning a crate manifest. The next, his head ceased to exist. It didn't explode theatrically. No fire, no debris, just a soft spatter as matter split from motion. He slumped to the ground like a marionette cut from strings. No sound, no flash, no trace. The rest of the team froze. Seconds passed. Then, the screaming began. The outpost scrambled. Red sirens screamed across the ice, turrets swung in erratic arcs, drones rose in swarms from underground bays. Crothall soldiers poured out in defensive formation, weapons raised, scanning for a threat they couldn't see. Nothing answered them. General Jacques Tour arrived 10 minutes later, fury etched across his scaled face. His jaw worked soundlessly for a second before he barked commands. Sensor towers recalibrated. Pulse beacons were erected. Heat mapping arrays swept the canyons in widening arcs. For a time, they thought they had him cornered, but what they found were ghosts. decoys, bodies, posed to lure scanners, dummies rigged with heat packs and chemical lures. One Crothall team opened fire on a thermal shape, only to find a dead animal, gutted and filled with boiling water, still steaming in the cold. The real sniper was never near. By nightfall, another officer died. This time a communications lieutenant, stationed at an uplink tower on the far side of the base. The shot came from the west, or maybe the east. No one could say. There was no entry wound, just the collapse of a body whose chest cavity no longer functioned. The message he had been transmitting, a request for orbital reinforcement, cut off mid-code. Then, an hour later, a medic was found in the infirmary tent with her spine severed from a single high-velocity round through the neck. No one heard it. No alarms were triggered. She had been reading field logs. The Crothall began to break. Jacques Tour doubled the patrols. He forced soldiers to move in squads of 6. He executed 2 sub-commanders on the spot, accusing them of negligence. He bellowed through the outpost loudspeakers, demanding courage, reminding them that humanity was broken, defeated, reduced to cowards in the snow. No one cheered. Instead, they stared at the ridge lines, eyes wide, flinching at every snowdrift, and then came the message, mid-broadcast. Jacques Tour stood again before a camera, voice booming, his breath misting in the cold. "You hide in the ice like a parasite," he shouted into the void. "A coward who fears war, come out and face me. Or will you kill and run like the gutless shadows your kind have become?" The shot rang through the mountains. His voice cut off mid-sentence. Thayas. Antenna above his head shattered into molten shards, the entire broadcast dish folding in on itself, with the scream of ruined circuitry. The explosion was small, precise. The camera drone caught nothing but static. Jacques Tour ducked behind a blast wall, his face pale with shock. By then, half the outpost believed they were already dead. Guards refused to patrol the outer perimeter. Officers faked injuries to remain. Inside the central compound, soldiers began to whisper in mess halls behind crates near warmers. "The ghost is real. He never misses. I saw a round go through solid ice. They say he never sleeps." At night, the snows spoke. For him, faint footsteps that led nowhere. The drip of melting frost from dummy packs hung in trees. A single human glove left beside a patrol barracks. Once, a Crothall sniper team found one of their own commanders' heads mounted atop a pike made from a broken antenna, facing the barracks, with empty eyes. No shot had been fired. No one saw the body taken. General Jacques Tour called an emergency tribunal. He accused half his officers of sedition, claimed there was a traitor feeding information to the human. He ordered executions, at random. 5 soldiers shot before sunrise, blood on the snow. It didn't help. By now, Ghost Vulture had eliminated 13 confirmed targets. No trace, no pattern, only whispers. The psychological warfare was complete. They no longer believed they were hunting a man. They believed something. Ancient had awakened in the snow. Jacques Tour stood on the command deck that night, staring out into the dark. He wore heavier armor now, no longer ceremonial, functional, the kind that braced against sniper rounds. His eyes flicked constantly to the sky, the cliffs, the towers. "Bring in the aerial drones," he muttered. "They're already in the air, General," his aide said. "Every quadrant. Still, no sign." "Then why can't we kill him?" Jacques Tour growled. Silence. He turned to a junior officer. "You! Speak!" The Crothall flinched. Because maybe he's not in the snow anymore." Jacques Tour narrowed his eyes. "What does that mean?" The officer swallowed. "It means maybe he is the snow." By then, some had started praying, not to their gods, but to humanity's, to a myth, a name never spoken aloud. They would find circles carved into ice. 4 concentric rings, the signature, the calling card. No one ever caught him doing it. Even the elite hunting squads, trained in psychic warfare, equipped with cloaking tech, never came back. Just screams through static. Then nothing. The silence was worse than the deaths, because, with silence, they didn't know when the next would come. They just knew it would. The ice had settled into silence again, 5 days. That's how long the sniper had waited. Every muscle stiff, nerves wrapped in stillness, the scent of frostbite lingering beneath his mask. He had moved only when the winds changed, or when the Crothall scanners passed too close. His breath was measured, released in pulses to avoid vapor trails. Snow covered his ghillie suit like bark over old wood. Even his rifle, modified beyond recognition, had frozen along the barrel. He'd learned to warm it only with his body. Downrange. The Crothall prepared for another rally. Jacques Tor stood atop a broad platform, surrounded by angular banners and armed guards. Behind him, the fractured command center still showed the cratered scar from the last broadcast antenna, now long silent. This one, he said, would be live, to restore morale, to remind the troops that they were conquerors, not prey. The sniper adjusted his scope by a single click. Distance, 3.1 kilometers. Wind, cross shear at 19 knots, gravity curve, Vesta Prime's rotation slightly unstable, variable tilt every 37 seconds. He accounted for everything, not just movement, but possibility. Jacques Tor wore layered shielding now, personal deflectors, reflective plating, and a crown of optic interference jammers. Human scientists once said it would take 3 simultaneous shots to breach it. The sniper didn't have 3, he had 1. He calmed his pulse, listened to the old memories play again. Laughter that had died in fire, a daughter's voice echoing from a schoolyard leveled by orbital strikes. He saw a child's shoe half buried in rubble, heard the song she used to hum in the bath, felt her fingers when they slipped from his grasp during the evacuation panic. He squeezed the trigger. It didn't feel like a shot. It felt like a breath. The round traveled as if guided by gravity and vengeance. The recoil barely touched him. The scope flickered once and then. The bullet broke the sound barrier at 2.7 kilometers, tore through a wind shear anomaly, slipped beneath a shield flickering too slow to compensate. It cracked through Jacques Tor's visor, breached the secondary armor with a shriek of breaking alloys, and punched through the warlord's skull mid-sentence. His last word was half-formed. Then he folded backward as if tugged by invisible threads falling from the platform like a puppet discarded by a god. The silence that followed was profound. For 5 full seconds, not a single Crothall moved. Then the shrieking began. Guards scrambled, some firing blindly into the mountains. Others ran to their knees beside the corpse, checking pulse, tapping their command chips, screaming for medics who never answered. One junior commander fell to his knees, helmet clattering off his trembling head. Another simply sat down, head in his claws, rocking. The sniper watched through his scope, unmoving. He didn't smile. He didn't feel triumph. He only confirmed the shot. 1 kill. 1 ghost made real again. The collapse was instant. The Crothall command chain, already fraying, snapped entirely. Officers issued contradictory orders. Comms channels flooded with panicked screams, rumors of multiple snipers, hallucinations of earth-cloaking tech that didn't exist. One outpost detonated its own ammo cache rather than face capture. Entire battalions began retreating toward orbital transports without clearance. The fleets above, intercepting the chaos, chose silence. Then drift. By the time Earth forces arrived on the fringe of Vesta Prime, the Crothall had already begun mass withdrawal. In deep space, rebel Crothall colonies sent messages of neutrality, disavowing the Dominion. No one had issued them an ultimatum. They had only read the reports. Sniper, 1 kill, 1 shot, ghost vulture. Earth's commanders tried to contact him. Static, Operator Vulture, return to base, confirm status, silence, repeat mission complete. Confirm extraction request. Nothing. A drone camera caught footage of a figure moving across the ice ridge, low and silent, disappearing into the wind. 1 final signature etched in snow, 4 rings, carved by a gloved finger. He did not turn back. In a captured Crothall war camp, a young alien prisoner was being interrogated gently by a translator unit. He had seen the rally from a distance, seen the warlord fall with nothing around. He was just one? The alien asked, voice barely above a whisper. Yes, the human officer answered. The alien closed his eyes as if absorbing a sacred truth. Then, there must be more. But there wasn't. There was only one, and he was already gone. Humanity did not celebrate publicly. There were no parades, no broadcasts. No one even confirmed the operation. But the story leaked, not through words, but through silence. The way Krothal ships refused to patrol certain star systems. The way rebel colonies changed trade routes to avoid Earth's shadow. And the final line, later etched into the wall of a new academy back on Earth, beneath a glass case displaying a cracked sniper scope and a single unfired round. Humanity doesn't need armies, just conviction and one good eye.